Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a very serious issue that has shaken communities in South Africa. The South African Human Rights Commission has raised deep concerns about ongoing human rights violations tied to the Stilfontein tragedy, the Zanzou nightclub torture case, and continuing reports of racism. These events have not only caught the attention of ordinary citizens but also highlighted once again the challenges we face as a country when it comes to justice, accountability, and human dignity. Please make sure to stay with me right till the end so you can hear the sources for this news and even verify it yourself. And if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss important updates like this one. Now, the SA Human Rights Commission, often referred to as the SAHRC, is no stranger to these kinds of investigations. Their work is to ensure that constitutional rights are respected and that no citizen feels excluded, abused, or discriminated against. But the recent combination of cases, from Stilfontein to Zanzou, is worrying because it shows how much work still lies ahead in tackling violations that are both violent and systemic. Let's begin with the Stilfontein tragedy. Stilfontein, a small mining town in North-West Province, has had its fair share of struggles with poverty, unemployment, and crime. But the latest tragedy brought to light something deeper: human lives being lost due to negligence and possible violations of basic rights. Families have cried out that their loved ones did not just fall victim to circumstance but to a lack of proper intervention from authorities who should have protected them. The SAHRC is investigating whether state agencies failed in their duties, leaving communities vulnerable. Then there's the shocking case of the Zanzou nightclub. This one is chilling, as it involves reports of torture and violence inside what was supposed to be a social setting. According to accounts, individuals were allegedly subjected to brutal treatment at the hands of security personnel or others connected to the club. People have spoken about being beaten, humiliated, and even psychologically scarred. The SAHRC has now stepped in to look closely at whether there were human rights violations involved and, if so, who should be held responsible. It raises a bigger question: how can entertainment spaces in South Africa turn into danger zones instead of safe spaces for fun and relaxation? And then we cannot forget the ongoing scourge of racism. The SAHRC has linked these recent events to a pattern of discriminatory behavior that still runs through parts of our society. From townships to workplaces, people continue to report being treated differently based on skin color or nationality. It is a painful reminder that even decades after apartheid, the spirit of division is still very present. The SAHRC's concern is that if racism is not addressed decisively, it will continue to fuel conflict, mistrust, and even violence between communities. What is interesting about these cases is how they intersect. On one hand, you have community tragedies like Stilfontein, which expose neglect. On another, you have shocking incidents like the nightclub torture case, showing violence in social spaces. And then, layered on top, there's the continued presence of racism, which creates divisions that make justice even harder to achieve. The SAHRC is trying to highlight that these are not isolated incidents. Instead, they are connected examples of how human rights continue to be violated in ways that undermine South Africa's democracy. For ordinary citizens, the big question is always the same: what happens after the reports and investigations? Too often, we see cases being flagged, statements being issued, and then silence. People want accountability. They want those responsible to face consequences, whether it's government officials who fail to protect vulnerable communities or private entities who abuse their power. In the Stilfontein case, families want answers and proper compensation. In the nightclub torture case, survivors want justice and for their trauma to be acknowledged. And when it comes to racism, citizens want to see real action, not just words of condemnation. The SAHRC has promised to keep pursuing these cases, but of course, they cannot do it alone. They rely on public cooperation, witness testimonies, and pressure from citizens to ensure matters don't simply disappear from headlines. That's why it's so important for people to remain engaged and vocal. Silence allows abuse to continue, while attention and pressure force institutions to respond. This situation also forces us to reflect on the role of leadership in our country. Communities that face tragedies like Stilfontein often feel abandoned, as if their suffering does not matter until it becomes news. Victims of violence at nightclubs wonder why safety measures are not properly enforced. And people who face racism on a daily basis sometimes lose faith in whether the system really protects them. Leadership, both political and social, has to rise to the occasion. These are not minor issues, they go to the very core of our constitution and human dignity. At the same time, it's worth remembering that South Africa is not alone in facing these struggles. Around the world, issues of racism, violence, and human rights violations are still common. But we as a country pride ourselves on having one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, and that means we have no excuse for failing to uphold it. If our constitution promises equality, justice, and dignity, then we should be the ones setting the example, not failing at the basics. For those listening, I'd love for you to think about this: what role can ordinary South Africans play in ensuring human rights are respected? Some say the answer lies in activism, joining marches, speaking up on social media, and holding leaders accountable. Others believe it starts at home, teaching children not to discriminate and building communities that value equality. Perhaps the answer is both, small changes in daily life combined with larger movements of accountability. As we reflect on these cases, the tragedy in Stilfontein, the violence at Zanzou nightclub, and the ugly persistence of racism, one thing is clear: we cannot look away. Human rights are not luxuries. They are the foundation of our society. And when they are violated, whether in small towns, entertainment venues, or social spaces, the entire nation suffers. So, if you're watching this, I encourage you to stay engaged, speak up when you see injustice, and demand accountability from those in power. South Africa cannot move forward if human rights violations are swept under the rug. Before I wrap up, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so now. It helps us keep bringing you these important updates and makes sure you stay informed about issues that affect us all. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. All images used in this video are for illustration purposes only. Sources: South African Human Rights Commission, News 24, Daily Maverick, SABC News.